right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Law, and we're going to begin with our misdemeanor calendar. This is the expedited accusation cases. These involve defendants who were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being booked in, their cases have now been formally accused by the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Therefore, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call each of the defendant's case, please, we will first of all let them know what's their case number, what are the charges brought against them, to appoint counsel when necessary, to set a bond, and also to give you a court date if required. If you're a defendant charged with one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. For those of you who are attending court today, if you are a family member, if you're a victim, a friend here in support of or interested in addressing a particular case, please keep your video off and your audio on mute. Please keep your video off and your audio on mute. Otherwise, our host will do that for you. All right. Ms. Grace, there's a person appearing via iPhone. Could you please switch off that video? It's very distracting.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Ms. Bridgewater, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Is it going to be January 30th?
It is.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be addressing each of these cases. Please remember the rights. I've read them to you. Courtroom 2, is that Ms. Lanning?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. This is State versus Lauren Lanning, who's accused of 2 counts of simple battery family violence from January 17th, 2025. Ms. Lanning, my name is Judge Law, and just to let you know, your new case number with the State Court of Fulton County is going to be 25 CR 000313Y with the 2 misdemeanor charges from family violence. Please remember this is an open, active criminal case against you. You've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Coleman. Would that be you?
No, Your Honor, that's me. It's Mr. Cook.
Ms. Cook, if you could have your video on, please. Appreciate it. Thank you. I understand this is Ms. Lanning's first arrest. Ms. Allen, what's the recommendation?
Thank you, Your Honor. This young woman is 17. This is an incident that occurred at the home she shares with her parents. The witness is her father, who's here on the Zoom, Mr. Michael Lanning, and the victim is her mother, Stacy Lanning. She shoved her mother into a wall and then struck her in the head. We've spoken with their family. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial level 2, Your Honor, specifically because she's still in school and has a truancy issue. If you'd call for Mr. Lanning, I'm sure he can explain it to you, but ultimately she is threatening to run away. We're asking for no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, a curfew. We'd like a mental health evaluation and to follow any recommendations. And if you would sound for Mr. Lanning, and Mrs. Lanning is Stacy Lanning. She's actually the victim.
Understood. Mr. Michael Lanning, if you want to address the court, please unmute and start your video.
Yes, ma'am. And her mother is here with
All
me
right.
as
Mr.
well.
Lanning, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I did.
Are you planning to have Lauren continue to live with you?
Yes.
And where does she attend school?
At Milton High School.
Okay. And what grade is she in?
She's a senior.
Okay. And what is this truancy issue that Miss Allen indicated?
In the fall semester, she had several unexcused absences. We were not aware. She made the decision herself not to attend school on several occasions.
Oh, okay. And the only other question I had was, do you know if she had any other school activities besides just going for regular academic classes?
No, just classes.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Miss Allen? All right.
No, Your
Mr.
Honor,
Lanning,
thank you.
you may mute your screen. Oh, by the way, Mr. Lanning, are you willing to co-sign the bond?
I am.
All right. Mr. Howard, I know that pretrial has now dispensed with the co-signer, but considering the age of the alleged defendant, I'm going to require a co-signer, which is going to be Michael Lanning. And Mr. Lanning, if you could provide your email address in the chat feature and direct that to pretrial-Howard. Thank you. Ms. Cook, anything to add?
No, Your Honor, we are in agreement with the state's recommendation.
All right, thank you. On each count of battery family violence, it's going to be 1,500. Her total bond is going to be 3,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services level 1. And Michael Lanning will have to co-sign the bond. He will get the paperwork from pretrial to co-sign this bond.
Well, he's supposed to get it from the public defender.
Do you have the paperwork to send to Ms. Cook? Because unfortunately, Ms. Cook is on the road. If you have it, that would be great. Will you have it, Tucson?
I have to get somebody to send it to me because we don't do that. That's why I've said that.
I understand. As soon as you get it, you can either send it directly to Tamisha Cook, or if you can send it to Mr. Lanning, he's put his email on the chat feature. Do you see it? All right, thank you. As I was saying, Lauren, your bond is going to be 3,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial. You won't have to pay for your bond today, but you'll have to comply with the following conditions. If you do not comply with these conditions, unfortunately, your signature bond can be revoked and you'll be back in jail where you would have to pay $3,000 in order to be released. The conditions are no further violent contact with Michael and Stacy Lanning. There cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. Otherwise, you could risk your signature bond being revoked and be back in jail in a no bond status. You are to continue attending school every day without any unexcused absences. You are subject to a curfew every day from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Well, actually from 6 p.m. to, 6 a.m. is fine. And that would be every day. While you are also out on a signature bond, you will enroll in a domestic violence intervention program at your expense. You are to enroll in that program within 30 days of being released. This is a 26-week program, and you will attend each of those 26 classes without skipping or missing any of them. That program can be offered either online or in person. And if you attend it in person, please keep in mind of your curfew obligations. No illegal drugs, no alcoholic beverages, and no weapons and no firearms. So if the Lanning family owns a firearm or firearms, they have to be removed from the home. Your next court date will be set to your current mailing address. If you change your address, you will need to let the court know in writing within 30 days of the change of address. Thank you. Next case.
Next, we can go to position.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I just wanted to know if you would reconsider the domestic violence because she does work at Waffle House, but I mean that class can be expensive. So I was just wondering if Your Honor would reconsider.
Good thing
that
she has
condition.
parents who I'm saving $3,000 on a bond. So she can pay for it or they can pay for it. Thank you.
Next, we can go to 11, Mr. Russell.
Repeat that name again.
Russell, Your Honor.
Russell, thank you. This is State versus Jahi Evan Russell or Evan Russell, accused of battery family violence from January 16th, 2025. Case number 25 CR 312J. Mr. Russell, you have been advised of your rights and your attorney is going to be Ms. Tamisha Cook. I understand he's got 3 cycles and I'm familiar with his felony case. We can waive sounding on that. Only thing I want to know, Mr. Howard, is in that felony case, 24 SC 5980, was he given a pretrial bond or a UJR bond?
Oh, I'm not sure. I didn't look that up.
Could you please? I can
alright.
tell from the bond order.
All right.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 16th of January. Police were called to 1741 Morusco Drive, Northeast. That's in Atlanta. The victim is Rochelle McKinley. She reported that her boyfriend had been released from jail the week before, and that ever since he'd been released, he'd been verbally and physically abusive with her. She said he was asking to use her phone, and when she said no, he became aggressive. He grabbed her with both arms, restrained her on the ground, and then she felt like she was going to have her arms broken. He was applying so much pressure. Her roommate came home and intervened. They lived together, and officers observed marks on her arm and a knot on the side of her head. She said that she'd fallen on the ground during this altercation. We've spoken with the victim today. She's asking for no contact and to stay away from the location at 741 Morusco Drive. If you'd sound for Mrs. McKinley.
All right, Rochelle McKinley, if you're on Zoom, this is the time to unmute and start your video.
And we're asking for a $5,000 surety bond, Your Honor. And FVIP, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. He is out on bond on a case you just mentioned.
Thank you.
Yeah, it says at the top it says good bond or cash bond, no pretrial supervision in parentheses. Then at the bottom it says shall be subject to pretrial supervision at level 2. I don't know why they did that,
But is he a client of pretrial services at the present time?
hold on, let me look.
Okay. While we are waiting on that, Ms. Cook, any response?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Russell is 25 years old. He's currently a junior at Morehouse College. He's employed at Chipotle to help pay for his schooling. He's also scheduled for Tuesday at Kroger to also pay for his school. He's studying a dual degree in an engineering program, which is focused on mechanical and aeronautical engineering with a minor in art and design. It relates to the 6 charges. I do want to just remind the court he is innocent unless to the state can prove that he's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It's my understanding that the complaining witness, they recently lost a child that they had together, and ever since then she's been going through.
Your Honor, can you hear me? This is Rochelle.
Just 1 second. Just 1 second, Ms. Cook. Yes, Ms. McKinley, I can hear you, but you'll need your video on in order for you to address the court. So do not interrupt until I see your video on. And Ms. Cook, I would recommend that you have the driver of your vehicle pull over because your audio is coming in quite sketchy. I can make out what you're saying, but it's going in and out. So if your driver can pull over, it'd be very helpful as we move forward.
Yes, Your Honor, it's my daughter, and we are like 2 minutes from the house.
All right. Anything else on Mr. Russell?
Your Honor, before she interrupted, I was going to say that it's his belief that she's going through what he considers to be probably postpartum. They've been together since June of 24.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to that. She's here. She can testify and explain anything that Your Honor has questions about, but we're here in front of the court on charges against the defendant, not the victim.
I could not even make out what Ms. Cook was saying. So if you could make that out, great, but I could not make out what she was saying. So Ms. Cook, I'll be glad to wait until you get home, like in 2 minutes. But right now I'm going to hear from Rochelle McKinley because I cannot make out what you're saying.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. Now, Ms. McKinley, you need to stop moving around and have a seat somewhere. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. And how do you know Mr. Jahi Russell?
We've met through a mutual friend.
Is he your intimate partner?
Jahi?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what would you like to tell us today in terms of contact and having him have any kind of communication with you?
So I don't mind because when I had spoken to, I forgot the lady, she had called me this morning, but I told her I'm fine with still having contact with Jahi, but I just asked that he does not come back to the apartment. Like he has to find somewhere else to stay. Like I don't want to press charges or anything. Like I just want him just to stay away from the apartment.
Okay, you understand that the decision to press charges is not with you and it's with the prosecutor only.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
No, that's it.
All right, you may mute your screen. Thank you. All right, Ms. Cook, are we ready to proceed? I see you're still in driving mode.
Yes, we are in the neighborhood, Judge. And if you, I don't know, can you hear me?
Now I can. Tell me, what were you trying to say before Miss Allen objected?
Well, Your Honor, I just wanted to let the court aware that it is Mr. Russell's position that the complaining witness may be going through some own issues of her based on her past, and that could have resulted to how this escalated. Additionally, I want to make the court aware that Mr. Russell also went to Grady, and he himself had multiple injuries as a result of this incident. You just heard her say that she doesn't mind having contact with him, so we will be asking the conditions to be no violent or harassing contact. They did share the residence together. I did mention to him that he may not be able to return, and he said if necessary, he would be able to find somewhere else to stay. So we are asking the court.
Is your client still equipped with the ankle monitor per his last bond?
Yeah, ankle monitor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes.
Then we're good. On the battery family violence, it's going to be a $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with Rochelle McKinley. He's to stay 200 yards away from Miss McKinley, not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner, including in person, through mail, email, through a third party, through any kind of phone or computer device, or even on social media. He's to stay 200 yards away from 741 Morosco Drive in Northeast Atlanta. He's not allowed to go to the premises at all. If there are any belongings that he wants to claim, he can retrieve them through a third party at a designated police precinct. His next court date is going to be January 30th, and it's up to the prosecutor's office if they want to alert the district attorney with regards to this new arrest. Mr. Russell, I highly recommend that you contact your defense counsel in the Superior Court case, Ms. Karen Pass, and let her know about this new arrest. Thank you.
Hey, that's a pretrial bond of 200,000, so he gonna have to bond out.
Oh, was it a pretrial bond?
Well, we're supervising it. I don't know. It doesn't say 10%, but I don't know. I'll find out some before I leave today, but otherwise it may be a bond surrender. So I don't know.
All right, Mr. Howard, you let Mr. Russell know if he's a pretrial. Mr. Russell, if you were released on a pretrial bond from your felony case, unfortunately, that will be surrendered as a result of this new arrest. So I do not know what kind of bond you got from, because we really can't tell by the court's order. So if you were released on a signature bond through pretrial, that will be surrendered. And that's very important to let your attorney know so she can clear up anything that's going on. Thank you. Next case.
Next, we can go to position number 6, Mr. Johnson. He's coming up, Your Honor.
No problem. This is State versus Terry Johnson, case number 25 CR 315B. Mr. Johnson's been accused of criminal trespass at a Amoco gas station on January 17th, 2025. Mr. Johnson, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. Coleman. I see he's got 83 arrest cycles. Any open cases pending or FTAs?
Judge, I'm not sure. I'm on the phone with our jail unit about this other case. Who is this?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. That's all right, Mr. Howard. Miss Allen, what's your recommendation?
We're asking for $1,000 surety, social worker visit to stay away from the location there at the Amico gas station, 1355 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard Southwest. He basically was asked to leave after being at the location, was criminally trespassed. Police were called. They spoke to the defendant. He refused to leave. He said he had nowhere to go. Police actually called to see if they could find him placement in a shelter, but were unable to do so. And
All
so
right.
we're asking for some support for this gentleman.
All right, thank you. Mr. Coleman, anything to add?
Just, Your Honor, we'd be requesting a signature bond for Mr. Johnson. This is a nonviolent offense. Appears that he is homeless. He is not working. He has no money to post for bond.
Bond is set at $1,000 signature bond through the jail, and he's to stay 200 yards away from the Amico gas station at 1355 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard in Southwest Atlanta. Mr. Johnson, if you return to that location, you will be arrested again, and the next time it might not be a signature bond. This is an active open case against you. Don't forget to come back to court. Please maintain communication with the Public Defender's Office. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Come back to court.
I'm not sure.
I know. Okay, come back to court.
Yeah, but they're gonna take you on information. Next, we go to position number 4, Mr. Harrison.
Okay, right, go. Go.
Kevin Harrison is accused of fare evasion and 2 counts of willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer in case 25 CR 303J. Mr. Harrison, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is it you, Mr. Coleman?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, sir. And Mr. Harrison has 64 arrest cycles as well as a 2023 FTA. Ms. Allen, anything else to add?
Thank you, Your Honor. Pardon my voice. We're asking, he's got currently a pretty large bond. I see $11,000. We're asking for a $2,500 surety, Your Honor. Stay away from the location there. That is the Peachtree Center Station with MARTA. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we'd request a social worker visit. The majority of what appears on his criminal history recently includes drug objects, felony drugs, obstruction, and failures to appear.
Okay. Mr. Coleman, anything to add?
Your Honor, Mr. Harrison is 62 years of age. He states to me that he has a bachelor's degree in mathematics. He's presently on leave from the the International Electrician Workers Union for the last year. He's trying to collect disability at this time. He's not working. He has no money to post for bond. This is a fare evasion charge along with an obstruction. I don't believe that there was any injury to the involved officers. I'd be requesting a signature bond on Mr. Harrison's behalf.
Unfortunately, he's got a failure to appear in the last 4 years. On the count 1, fare evasion is going to be 300. Count 2 and count 3 are 350 each. His total bond is 1,000. It's a surety bond, and to stay away from all MARTA property in accordance with any active suspension he has. If he can contact a MARTA police officer to verify when his suspension will be over, so he can resume using MARTA legally and paying the fare. Otherwise, he needs to stay away from all MARTA property. Next court date is going to be January 30th. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position 14, Mr. Vassal.
Eric Bassel is accused of criminal trespass and simple battery in case 25 CR 3108. Mr. Bassel, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Tamisha Cook. And this is an incident from January 17th, 2025.
What battery go for that?
The simple battery is based on the warrant in which the Officer Hatcher claims that he was allegedly struck by you. All right, moving
I
on.
got 64 is what I saw. Several open cases, one out of the cab, simple assault, shoplifting, disorderly conduct. Open felony shoplifting in Fulton. Open cases out of Dade County, Florida. On probation for ag assault 23 SC 189668 and probation violations.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant is well known to the security employees as well as police officers in the area of the Ponce City Market. This occurred there at 675 Ponce de Leon on the 17th. Police were notified that the defendant, who'd been known and previously criminally trespassed on November the 16th, was present at the location. Security officer, specifically, his name is, Mr. Hatcher, reported that while they're working his job for Ponce City Market, separate from his law enforcement officer job, he saw the defendant, went to detain him, and was elbowed by him. During that process, he was taken into custody. I would note he just left our custody on the 17th of December, Your Honor, so exactly a month ago from this arrest for criminal trespass and drug objects at the Azure Apartments. It's 24 CR 00789-3C. He does have that open felony shoplifting case from October the 17th of 2024. And you just heard about 2 cases in other jurisdictions and an open aggravated assault that he's on probation for. So we're asking for a $2,000 surety, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, to stay away from that location, the Ponce City Market at 675 Ponce de Leon. And we'd ask for a social worker visit, Your Honor.
Ms. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Vassal is 39 years old. He is residentially challenged. His highest level of education completed, he does have his GED. He is unemployed, Your Honor, so any bond that you set will be the equivalent of a no bond for him. He doesn't have any money to make any bond, so for those reasons, we're asking for a signature bond. Otherwise, he'll just be sitting in Fulton County until this is resolved.
All right. On criminal trespass is going to be 500. On the simple battery is 1,000. His total bond is 1,500 surety. His next court date is January 30th. He's to stay 500 yards away. That's the length of 5 football fields from the Ponce City Market at 675 Ponce de Leon Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. And no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you. Who do we have, please?
Position 13, Mr. Tucker.
Okay. This is State versus Emmanuel L. Tucker, accused of 2 counts of battery family violence from November 18th, 2024. Mr. Tucker, you have been advised of your right to remain silent and right to counsel. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Cook. And I understand he's got 17 arrest cycles. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
Who's the judge?
Emmanuel Tucker, position number 13.
2023 disorderly conduct, NOLO. Judge, can you y'all take over for a minute? I got a phone call about this case. That's all.
Thank you.
That's why I'm kind of out of it right now. Okay.
All right, Ms. Allen, anything to add?
No, that's what I have as well, Your Honor, as far as criminal history. This case took place at about 5 in the morning on the 18th of November, 2024. The initial officer who responded to 1940 Fisher Road Southeast, specifically to apartment 65A, took a report, and an investigator with the domestic violence unit followed up by reviewing the body camera and talking to the victim. She reported that she and the defendant lived together at the location, that he'd been intoxicated and he urinated on her clothing, and that caused them to have a disagreement. He wouldn't acknowledge that she was requesting he clean it up. She told him again, and she asked him, he asked her, what are you going to do about it? At that point, he struck her several times in her head. She fought back, but then fled the location and called police. He actually locked her out of the location. She was seen to have bruising, a blackened eye, and bruising on both sides of her face. Her name is Tiona Chapman, Tiona. We did leave a message with her today, so I'm not sure she's here on the Zoom, but if you'll sound for her. We're asking for a $4,000 surety. Absolutely no contact with Ms. Chapman. Stay away from that residence there. 1940 Fisher Road Southeast, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Specifically, he's got battery conviction from 2007, armed robbery, arrests, battery and robbery, first offender that was evidently revoked, financial transaction card fraud, and theft, felony theft was the most recent felony level case that was null prost in 2020. So there's a significant history here. There's some concern for the safety of this young woman.
Tiona Chapman, if you are present, please unmute and start your video. All right. Ms. Cook, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Tucker is 36 years old. Judge, it's my understanding that at the 1940 Fisher Road address, he actually lives by himself and has been living by himself for the last 6 months. She's not on the lease and does not reside there. He has completed high school. He's currently an assistant manager at Wingstop, has been for the last 2.5 years. It's my understanding that as of right now, the job is still being held for him. So we are asking the court, I don't believe he's had any failure to appears or obstructions or given false name or anything like that. He does, he denies these allegations against him. I don't believe he would be a flight risk based on the fact that he hasn't had any failure to appears in his history, to my understanding. So we are asking the court for a signature bond. When I asked him how much bond he can afford to make, he doesn't have any extra savings money. So for those reasons, we will be asking for a UJR.
On each count of battery family violence, it's going to be $2,000. That's a total of $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 2. Mr. Tucker, you will receive a signature bond, but you'll be monitored through pretrial services, and you'll need to follow the following conditions in order to maintain your signature bond. First of all, is no further contact with Tiona Chapman. You have to stay 200 yards away from her and not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. I hope she's still not living at your location.
No.
Okay. While you are on pretrial services, you will report to pretrial twice a month. Within 30 days of being released, you will enroll and complete 8 anger management classes and present your certificate of completion to the pretrial officer. You are allowed a one-time visit to 1940 Fisher Road in Southeast Atlanta, and the police officer will verify that Tiona Chapman no longer resides at the property. Once that is verified, then you may return to the property. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
While you are also on pretrial supervision, you are not to consume any illegal drugs, and you're not to consume any alcoholic beverages. You will be subject to random screens by pretrial. If you fail to report to pretrial, if you don't show up to court when summoned, if you fail a drug or alcohol screen, and or if you get arrested again, your $4,000 signature bond will be surrendered and amended to a surety bond. Thank you. Next court date will be sent to your current address.
Next, we will go to position number 15, Mr. Williams. Second row.
I understand position. I'm sorry, did you say Williams?
Yes, second row.
I thought Williams bonded out. Did I get that wrong?
I did put mine. I don't know why they came back.
Yeah, hold on for a minute.
All
Hold
right.
on, y'all. That's what I had earlier this morning. Yeah, he bonded out through a second chance. Y'all can check it out, though. Just check it out. But it says he bonded out.
Okay, we'll check. In the meantime, we can go to position number 16.
Oh, no, wait, please, hold, please. Deron Lee Williams' case is 25 CR 000311F. And he's accused of loitering and prowling and criminal trespass. He currently has a $3,700 $3,700 good bond. If he has made bond through pretrial service, through a bonding company, that's perfectly fine. And Miss Bridgewater, please take a note that his bond is $1,200 on loitering and prowling, and criminal trespass is $2,500. Those are the same bonds set by the electronic warrants issued against him. In addition to these bonds, he's to stay 500 yards away from all Georgia Tech property. If he is seen anywhere at any Georgia Tech property, his bond shall be revoked. And in addition to the bonds that were set in the 6 other cases pending against him, ranging from 24 CR 001414F through 24 CR 001419F, all involving issues at Georgia Tech property. So, Mr. Deron Williams, you are on notice right now that if you get arrested again, or if you're seen at any Georgia Tech property, the Solicitor General's office is authorized to file motions to revoke your bond in all these 7 cases. Thank you.
Your Honor, he's got a 7th case ending in 1425.
Before us, or is that a case
Yes.
out on bond?
No, not before us.
Okay.
In addition to the others that run consecutively in number.
If he gets arrested again, or if he violates the Georgia Tech restriction, y'all are free to file motions to revoke his bond and place him in a no bond status.
I mean, he violated by being in front of you today. He was out on bond for 7 separate cases since March. They all specifically say to stay away from Georgia Tech property.
File your motions. We'll
Okay.
have the hearing before the division judge. Thank you. Next case.
So, Your Honor, before we move on, providing that he has not been released or whatever, that's a total of a $3,700 SOB?
No. He's already got a bond, surety bond, which is $1,200 on count 1 and
Okay, so
$2,500 on count
okay.
2. And
Okay.
he's going to make that bond. I just want you to add the restriction of staying 500 yards away from all Georgia Tech property.
Got it.
All right, thank you.
Next, we will go to position number 16, Mr. Willis.
Derek Willis is accused of disorderly conduct from November 21st, 2024. Mr. Willis, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Cook, and your current case number is 25 CR 314F. Mr. Willis was arrested based on a private application warrant submitted by one Shamitria Fitton. Is Ms. Fitton on Zoom? No? Okay. I understand he's got 15 arrest cycles. Anything else to add, Ms. Allen?
Your Honor, the same judge that signed that warrant after a hearing issued a $2,000 good bond, and we would like that to stay in place. No contact with the victim and to stay away from that location, specifically where these incidences occurred, 514 Sunset Avenue, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Ms. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Willis is 54 years old. He is a high school graduate. He is employed, drives forklifts, been doing that for the last 21 years. Hopefully he's able to make a bond so that he doesn't miss work any further. As far as the stay away from the incident location, it's my understanding, Your Honor, that he and the complaining witness, they don't live together, but they live in the same vicinity.
Adjacent neighbors, I understand.
And so I just want to make sure that we don't, like, he's still able to live where he lives and not have any contact with me. It's also my understanding, without getting into too much detail, that the complaining witness allegedly believes that he may have fathered her child. He was supposed to take a DNA test, I believe, yesterday, but was arrested. So if that is the case, and for the purposes of the baby, they may need to have some sort of contact through, I guess, maybe the court system or something if that allegation turns out to be true. We are asking the court, I don't believe in his 15 cycles that he has any failure to appears or obstructions or giving false name or anything along those lines. Again, the purpose of bond to ensure that he comes back to court. He's been in Georgia all his life. He has a stable job. The charge is disorderly conduct. It's not so severe that he would risk getting picked up for anything like that. So we are asking the court for a signature bond in this particular case.
All right. It's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No further violent contact with Sharmitria Fitton. Mr. Willis, I'm amending it to no further violent contact, which means that you cannot have any kind of physical or verbal altercations or arguments with Miss Fitton. If you don't believe that you can communicate with her without losing your temper, then I highly recommend that you stay away from her. If she's outside the house, you go straight back into your own property or vice versa. But otherwise, no physical or verbal altercation. And I need you to comply with any and all directives that may be issued by the Office of Child Support Services or any other outstanding child support cases that may be against you. Let me see, what else? No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons, and you're required to report to pretrial once a month. Yes, Mr. Willis.
I'm not gonna be staying over there at the apartment no more. I'm just gonna be staying somewhere else.
Have you left the apartment complex?
No, I was locked up, so I gotta go get my stuff whenever I get out.
When do you plan to leave?
Today.
Okay. You will be released within 24 hours, and then you'll be required to vacate the premises immediately, but you're still required to comply with any and all directives with regards to any child support proceedings against you.
All right.
Thank you.
Next, we will go to position number 2, Mr. Gray.
This is State versus DeJuan Gray, Gray, case 25CR316Y, accused of abandoning certain dangerous drugs, poisons, or controlled substances from January 7th, 2025. Mr. Gray, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Coleman. I understand this is his 17th arrest. Anything to add, Mr. Howard?
Last arrest was in November. Possession of marijuana. 2022, 2021, 2019 probation. 2017 possession of a Schedule 2 first offender, and a 2017 probation.
Thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're asking for a $2,000 surety bond to stay away from the location and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. The location is the Washington Road Food Mart. That's 3887 Washington Road in East Point. The defendant, who is known to the police officers there on the scene, was observed putting an item into a display of potato chips and then walking away. He had seen police and started to behave in a furtive manner. Police went and looked at the item and took it. It was actually a controlled substance, a container full of oxycodone, narcotics, Schedule 2, and arrested him for basically disposing of those items. This should be a felony. I had no response from the DA's office today. And that's why we're asking for the bond that we're asking for.
Mr.
The
Coleman?
majority of his cases in its history are drugs or assault related.
Okay. Mr. Coleman?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting a signature bond for Mr. Gray. He is 29 years of age. He does have his GED. He is the father of 3 minor children, ages 1, 7, and 7. He is employed at the DHL warehouse. I would like to preserve his job if possible. Not to minimize the gravity of this offense, but it is a nonviolent offense. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond for Mr. Gray.
Bond is set at $1,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial level 1. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons, and no consumption of any drugs unless he has a valid prescription for those drugs. He'll be subject to random screens. He's also to stay away from the Washington Road Food Mart at 3887 Washington Road, Atlanta, Georgia. Next court date will be sent to his current mailing address. Please make sure we have a good address on you. Thank you.
Next, we will go to position number 10, Mr. Ritchie.
10. Okay. This is State versus Charles Ritchie. Miss Allen, do you plan to allocute the allegations of this warrant?
And that's what we're here for. If
Right.
there needs to be a breakout, then let's do so or save until the end.
Deputy will have to take this case at the end.
Go ahead and sit back in the bench. If Your Honor, if you could go ahead and read ACDC, they're right.
Okay. Let's go ahead and mute courtroom 2.
Okay.
All right, Francois, is that you at ACDC?
It's Milton, Your
Oh,
Honor.
Milton. All right. Good afternoon. All right, Deputy Milton, let's begin with ACDC. Good afternoon, ladies. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to be addressing each of your cases on a one-on-one basis. These are criminal misdemeanor cases which have been newly accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court or open virtual court, your statements can and will be used against you in the treatment of your case. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. Who do we have, Deputy Milton?
Position number 12, Miss Cersei.
This is State versus Carolyn Cersei, accused of 2 counts of battery family violence from January 16th, 2025, case number 25CR 304C. Ms. Cersei, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Ms. Cook, and I understand this is her second arrest cycle. Anything to add, Ms. Allen?
No, Your Honor. I believe the incident location is her residence. Her daughter and her granddaughter are also living there. We were just asked for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. No violent contact with either of the victims. Granddaughter is an 11-year-old juvenile with the initials ZN, and her daughter Leona Favors. We left messages for them this morning. I have not heard back. So no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and no violent contact. Thank you.
Leona Favors, if you're on Zoom, this is the time to unmute and start your video. Okay. Ms. Cook, on each count is going to be $1,500. Her total bond is going to be $3,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No further violent contact with Leona Favors and the minor ZN. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and firearms. And she will attend and complete 2 anger awareness classes with pretrial services. Ms. Cersei, let me know if you don't understand me, but please understand right now you have a signature bond. You'll be required to report pretrial services once a month. You can go back and start living at the Fort Valley Drive location. But if there's any future altercations with Leona or your granddaughter, you'll be back in jail. Do you understand? There cannot be any physical or verbal altercations or arguments. Please report to pretrial once a month. You're not allowed to drink any alcohol, and you're not allowed to consume any illegal drugs. Any questions?
Leonka she's not the child's mother.
You need to speak up louder.
Leonka is not the child's mother. Zoe, I have cooked all 4 of my grandkids, and Leonka's there. I went to last year to pay $100 for an eviction for her, but they told me it's been delayed for COVID, and I've been calling and calling.
If you plan to have Miss Leona Favors removed from your home, you would need to file a new dispossessory action or check on the status of your last one.
And Miss Stewart, the Atlanta Housing Board, lady, she told me to come up there and remove her from the voucher and
that I can't help you with. You'll need
she
to
told me to come up there. I know that.
Okay, well, best of luck with that. But this is an active case against you. You need to remember to comply with these conditions.
Okay.
Good luck.
Next, position number 9, Miss Pullen.
This is State versus Ashley Pullen, accused of simple battery against a police officer in disorderly conduct from January 16th, 2025. Ms. Pullen, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Coleman. Understand this is Ms. Pullen's 17th arrest cycle with an open case in Superior Court. Anything else to add, Mr. Howard?
Open case out of Clayton County, financial transaction card theft, animal cruelty. Wanted out of Clayton County and Jonesboro, which is in Clayton County, but it's two different warrants.
Two
That's
different warrants. That's what I was going to ask
two
you.
different holes. Yeah, she has two different holes. According to the GCIC.
All righty. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 16th of January. The location is the Spondiffits Restaurant at 1219 Virginia Avenue in East Point. She did not pay her bill and then became irate when the manager called the police. When the police arrived, she started using profanity towards the police officers. She had to be removed from the location, and she struck one of the officers, Officer Moore, in the face at that time with her elbow. We're asking for a $6,000 surety bond, Your Honor. Anger management, stay away from that location, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Mr. Coleman?
Yeah, I'd be requesting signature bond for Ms. Pullen. She is 43 years of age. She does have an address here in Atlanta, Fulton County. She attended 3 years of college at Clayton State University. She is the mother of 8 minor children, ages 6 to 17. She is not working, therefore she has no money to post for bond. I remind the court at this time that these are just allegations against Ms. Pullen. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond.
Understood. On the simple battery against an officer is 1,000.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Computer out there. The computer out there froze and it went black. So we missed everything from after the prosecutor, Miss Allen, spoke. So give me a few minutes. Let me see if I can get it logged back on.
Okay, we'll get back to Ms. Pullen shortly. Courtroom 2, do you have anyone ready?
Yes, we could go to position number 8, Mr. Papaleon.
Okay.
But give us a second while we pull him out.
Come on.
Miss Grace, you can mute. Okay. Deputy Milton will be with you shortly. We're just going to be addressing Mr. Papillon.
Okay. Yeah.
Judge, you need me to mute?
Yeah, no, we're good. Okay, thank you. Ms. Pullen will be back with you shortly. This is State versus Nicholas Papillon, accused of criminal trespass in case 25 CR 305C. Mr. Papillon, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Darrell Coleman. Understand this is his second arrest cycle. Anything to add, Ms. Allen?
Hold on, he resident of Knoxville, Tennessee, with that 2024 trespass.
Okay. Ms. Allen, anything else to add?
No, Your Honor, we're requesting a surety bond. I believe he's already got a $3,000 surety. We would ask that to be reduced, but for it to remain a surety bond, seeing as he is not a resident of Georgia. Stay away from the location. This is 232 Forsyth Street at the Greyhound station downtown. Officers were flagged down by security there because the defendant was present, didn't have a bus ticket, and wouldn't leave the location. He'd been asked multiple times. We'd ask for a social worker visit as well. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Coleman, anything to add?
Your Honor, I'd be requesting signature bond for Mr. Papillon. He is 31 years of age. He states to me that he does have his associate's degree, the father of 2 minor children, ages 5 and 8. I believe it's still in dispute as to whether or not he actually had a ticket on this Greyhound bus. This being only a second arrest and a nonviolent offense, I'd be requesting a signature bond.
Okay. Bond is set at 500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is January 30th. To stay away from all Greyhound stations unless he has a verifiable hard copy ticket indicating and then he can return to the Greyhound station at least 1 hour
How
before
did I get here?
before his time of departure.
Get your bond, come on. How did I get here?
Thank
Come
you,
on.
Mr. Papillon. You have next case.
Can we also have a social worker visit, Your Honor?
Mr. Coleman, in your discussions with him, do you recommend that? I think
I don't know. He was somewhat agitated. I don't know if there's necessarily a mental health issue. I may have been he was just angry.
we'll leave it at SAP to see if he requires one. Otherwise, we'll take it up at that time, if he's still with us. All right, moving back to Miss Pullen. And Miss Pullen, can you hear us? You need to indicate yes or no. Ashley Pullen?
Yes, Your
Can you?
Honor.
Okay. I think it was Mr. Coleman, wasn't it? Yes. Mr. Coleman, I believe that audio went out after Miss Allen had indicated. Could you repeat what you just said?
Yes. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond for Miss Pullen. She is 43 years of age. She states to me that she did attend 3 years of college at Clayton State. She is the mother of 8 children, ages 6 to 17. She is not working, therefore she has no money to post for bond. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond on her behalf.
All right. On the simple battery, it's going to be 1,000. On the disorderly conduct is 500. It's a $1,500 surety bond. Next court date is going to be January 30th. If she makes bond, she shall be released to any of her pending holds. Ms. Bridgewater, I'm going to amend the language to release to any pending holds because it appears that after I rule, some of these holds disappear.
Okay.
So, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and she's to stay 200 yards away from 1219 Virginia Avenue in East Point, Georgia, which is the Spondovitz restaurant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Come on, Ms. Hino. Next, we have position number 5, Ms. Hino. Have a seat.
This is Lanshana Hino, accused of theft by shoplifting in case number 25CR306Y from January 15th, 2025. Ms. Hino, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is Mr. Daryl Coleman. I
4 total.
Okay, thank you. And is she a resident of New Orleans, Louisiana?
According to the booking, yes. She got open theft cases out of New Orleans.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, anything else to add?
We're asking for $1,000 surety, Your Honor, based on the fact that she's not a resident and she's got those open theft cases. This is a theft out of the Walmart at 844 Cleveland Avenue in East Point. The merchandise she took was $346.83 worth of household goods. She also has a co-defendant who was on the felony first appearance today because she has a felony obstruction in addition to her shoplifting.
Thank you.
So we'd ask for her to have no contact with her co-defendant. That's Destiny Williams.
Is that common spelling, Destiny?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Coleman?
Yeah, and I'd be requesting a signature bond for Ms. Hino. She is 20 years of age. She is a high school graduate, the mother of 1 child, age 4. If the allegations in the police report are to be believed, she was only attempting to care for her child. Again, I'd be requesting a signature bond in lieu of that, a low bond for Ms. Hino.
Bond is set at 1,000. It is a surety bond. Next court date is January 30th. To stay away from all Walmart stores in the state of Georgia. And her next court date is January 30th. If she makes bond, she's required to maintain a current address, whether it's here or in Louisiana, so that we can send her the summons for her next court date. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons, no firearms. Thank you.
Come on, Ms. Glover. Next, we have position number 1, Ms. Glover. Have a seat, please.
This is State versus Kenesia Glover, accused of battery, family violence out of from January 16th, 2025, case number 25CR301F. Ms. Glover, you've been advised of your rights. Your attorney is Mr. Coleman, and I understand this is a first arrest. Ms. Allen, anything else to add?
Your Honor, we've spoken to the victim in this case, Jamel Tillman, I believe. He's joined us on the Zoom. This is an incident where when police arrived, the defendant had taken the victim's phone and had taken off into the woodline with it. She told police that she was upset with him because she wanted him to be a better father to their 6-month-old. They do not live together, but they do share a child. We would ask for no contact. You can absolutely call for Mr. Tillman. I do not believe this child has been legitimated or that this child is the product of a marriage. He has said that the information in the warrant is correct. He had been bitten on his arm and he had scratches on his neck as well as a result of being struck by the defendant. This could have actually been multiple counts. So it's the position of the state that no contact is what's appropriate, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and to stay away from where he lives, 1999 Bent Creek Way, Southwest.
Jamel, I'm sorry, Mr. Tillman, Mr. Coleman, Mr. Tillman, did you have anything to add?
Yes, when I spoke to the
When you please raise your right hand, I'll let you testify. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Would you like to have contact with Kinesia Colt Glover?
Yes, when I spoke to the solicitor, I said I don't mind
I
contact.
don't want to hear the conversation with the prosecutor. I just want to know what you want today. And would you like to continue to live with her or have contact with any child or children that you share with her?
Yes. And
Okay,
I found
that's all I need to know. Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Ms. Glover, would you like to have contact with Jamal Tillman or have him share communication or share custody with the child you share with him? Yes or no?
No.
I can't hear you.
No.
All right. And who lives at 3270 Dotson Drive?
Me, my daughter, and my dad.
And does Mr. Tillman live there?
Not anymore, no.
When did he leave?
He left. Well, actually, we had ended up moving together, but I moved out last year of 2024 September.
So you moved out
Yes, I moved back home with my dad.
at Dotson Drive?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Tillman, do you still live at Dotson Drive?
no, I mean, I resided there temporarily, but never like permanently.
Have you moved out?
Yes, I ended up getting my own place.
Okay, so you don't live there anymore, correct? Okay, good. So even though you want contact, she doesn't want to have contact with you. So this is going to be the bond. And Mr. Coleman, I'm going to set a signature bond through pretrial. On the battery family violence, it's going to be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 1. Ms. Glover, you are to have no further contact with Jamel Tillman. You may return to 3270 Dotson Drive. Is it Dotson Drive connector or something like that?
Yes, it's 3230 Dotson Drive connector.
All right. 3230 Dotson Drive connector in
Yes.
East Point. You may return to that location, but please keep in mind that you are to stay 200 yards away from Mr. Tillman and not have any contact with him whatsoever. Although I don't have a restriction against Mr. Tillman, it's your obligation to make sure that you shut the door and don't answer any phone calls from him. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay.
Would I be
No, I'm not finished.
Okay.
You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and you're not allowed to have any firearms. You're to report to pretrial once a month, and you're to complete 2 anger awareness classes with pretrial services. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do not give us a reason to revoke your bond. If you get arrested again, if you violate these conditions, or if you don't report to pretrial or come to court, your signature bond can be revoked. And if Mr. Tillman wishes to have any kind of contact, visitation with the child you share with him, please remember that you have the right to refuse him any custody and any visitation. Do you understand that? You have the absolute right to do that. If Mr. Tillman wishes to have any contact or visitation with the child he shares with you, he must file a legitimation action in the appropriate superior court and get a court order to establish visitation, joint custody, as well as child support. Do you understand, Ms. Glover?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Tillman, do you understand?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So we already have a case filed for legitimation that's currently pending.
Who are we?
Me and my lawyer, my attorney.
Okay, who's your lawyer?
Attorney McGee.
What's the full name?
Jania McGee.
All right. Then wait until you get a court order to establish joint visitation and custody. Just filing it doesn't give you any rights. Thank you. Okay, next case. Deputy Milton, are we concluded with ACDC?
Yes, now I gotta go figure out what happened to my computer.
Well, good luck. Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Milton.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to courtroom 2. I have a couple more cases. Monte Harris.
He is in medical. I did speak to him this morning. However, I'm waiving his appearance.
All right, please make sure you submit your waiver of appearance for Mr. Harris.
I have it.
I've done that. Also, there was someone in the chat earlier, but I believe that it was his mother. I don't know if that's NM that's on the Zoom call at this time.
All right, let me see. Is there anyone else I'm not addressed other than our case that we've put off to the end?
The ad calendar.
Oh, yes. We have Mr. Perry Banks. Quorum 2, do you have a Perry Banks?
No, Your Honor, his bond was posted.
Repeat again?
He posted bond.
He posted bond, okay. So Perry Banks posted his, I don't know how much his bond was, but
2,000.
2,000, okay.
3, Your Honor.
All right, and so that's going to be a further notice for trial. He's released and further notice for trial. Okay.
Well, we're going to take up Mr. Harris. I believe it was just Mr. Harris in position 10.
We are. Yeah.
Richie.
Yeah. Monte Harris is 25 CR 302A, accused of battery family violence. His appearance has been waived by counsel, Mr. Daryl Coleman. Mr. Harris has got, this is his second arrest cycle. Alleged incident date is from January 17th, 2025. Is there a Quita Lane on Zoom? Quita Lane? No? Okay. Miss Allen, what's the recommendation?
Your Honor, we're asking for a signature bond through pretrial, $3,000. Stay away from the incident location. That's specifically 3023 Forest Terrace, Southeast in Atlanta. No further contact with the victim, Quinta Lane, Quinta.
Quinta Lane. I was missing a number. All right, thank you. Quinta Lane.
We ask for no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and anger awareness. A one-time escort to retrieve belongings.
Okay.
We did try to contact with the victim today, but we're not successful yet.
All right. Mr. Coleman, any objection to the state's recommendation?
No objection.
All right. Bond is set at 3,000. It is a signature bond through pretrial services level 1. To stay away from 3023 Forest Terrace in Southeast Atlanta. No contact with Quinta Lane, to stay 200 yards away from Quinta Lane and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. Within 30 days of being released on bond, Mr. Harris will update the court with his new mailing address in writing, and he will attend and complete 2 anger awareness classes with pretrial services. All right, that concludes this case.
Did you hear all of that, ma'am?
I did, and I just wanted to go ahead and give my address because this is primarily where he lives, so there's no mix-up with his court date.
Could you put that in the chat, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please mute your screen. Thank you. All right. Who is NM? Miss Grace, can you pause the or stop the live stream, please? Okay. All right.
Come on, sir, sit right.